Good evening. I would like to call to order this Anoka-Hennepin School Board meeting today, November 10th, 2025. Please join the board in pledging our allegiance. Our first order of business is to approve the board agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you. We have a motion from Director Langenfeld. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Simon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, the agenda is approved. Members, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. As normal, members could remove any items for separate consideration and discussion if that's their desire. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented? Thank you. We have a motion from Director Audet. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. With a second from Director Simon. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, our consent agenda is approved. Our next agenda item is communications, delegations, and petitions. This is time for community members to provide input directly to the school board. I do not see any yellow cards. Fio, no yellow cards. So we will skip past this section of our agenda. And I will turn it over to our next agenda item 6, board calendar and district updates, to Superintendent McIntyre.
All right, thank you. Tonight I'll be presenting some items of interest for the board and our community regarding activities and events that we are proud of in our district. We do this to celebrate students, staff, and our community members who are contributing to the accomplishment of our mission, which is to effectively educate each of our students for success. So to lead us off, with registration for next school year approaching quickly, this is a reminder that Anoka-Hennepin offers choices to students for specialty schools and magnet programming, as well as in-district transfer options. Specialty programming includes STEM, STEAM, biomedical engineering, traditional engineering, aerospace and children's engineering, international baccalaureate, career and technical, environmental education, as well as areas in the arts. So priority enrollment deadline for the District 6 magnet schools is December 17th, rapidly approaching, with the deadline for the District's 6 specialty schools set for January 15th. Visit ahschools.us/specialty magnet for upcoming open house dates and additional information. Next, career and college specialists from Anoka-Hennepin's comprehensive high schools are joining forces to host an event for college-bound students and their families. Financing Your Future is set for Wednesday, November 19th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Coon Rapids High School in the auditorium and atrium area. Information sessions focused on scholarships, financial aid, lowering college costs, and earning college credit in high school will all be covered. The event is free and open to the public. Also, board members, some of you have toured this location. Anoka-Hennepin's student-focused Alien Ave retail boutique will have extended hours on Thursday, November 20th until 6 p.m. Everything in the store is 25% off. The store is located right here at Sandberg Education Center, and the entrance is right on the alley side of the building on 2nd Avenue. So Alien Ave is open to the public weekdays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. to shop for home decor, gifts, and furniture refurbished by our own students. The store offers hands-on experience for students participating in our district's work-based learning program called TEAM, which stands for Teaching Employability Through Assessment in Manufacturing. This program is designed to help high school and transition-age students develop additional skills before seeking paid employment. Our Kindness Poster Awards. So Anoka-Hennepin's 22nd annual Kindness Poster Contest attracted over 150 entries, with this year's theme being My Vision of Kindness. The winning posters were selected through a special Election Day vote at the Educational Services Center. The poster on the screen is a creation of one of the winning posters and winning students, and this is one from Oxbow Creek Elementary third grader Maggie Purvis. The annual Kindness Poster Contest supports a safe and welcoming environment for students by promoting kindness and anti-bullying. Congratulations to all of our winners. I know we do take time to recognize them at a future meeting. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, and the school district will be in session. Throughout the district, students will be either attending school assemblies or learning about the importance of Veterans Day in class. Our schools are set to celebrate local veterans in a number of different ways, and we appreciate all the work by students and staff to make this day one to remember for our local veterans. And lastly, I hate to bring this up, but we have reached that period of time where severe weather can impact our ability to ensure students and staff can safely get to and from school. So I know we don't like to be thinking about winter weather quite yet, but it's coming. And I guess we're lucky that with media coverage, it's rare that anyone is uninformed about potential weather challenges. But as a reminder, the district makes decisions not to hold school in person based on our ability to safely get students to school and for staff to get to school as well, but really between those hours of 6:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., and then again home from school between 2 and 5 p.m. So if snowfall prevents safe travel during these periods or extreme cold makes walking unsafe for 20 minutes or less, that's when we consider a weather-related closure. Our goal is always to keep school open, but do it that safely and to give our parents, students, and staff as much lead time as possible should the district need to close. As a reminder, the district will not have asynchronous learning or e-learning should the district close to weather. Also, the district has implemented an early release system for high school and middle school students on days when afternoon travel becomes an issue. The goal for that early release is to give buses time so that elementary students are home at their expected time. The goal is for the district to make a decision on that, usually by 10 in the morning whenever possible, if that's being considered. And I know we have a lot of additional information on our website, so if anyone's interested, they can find more information there. Co-Chair DeShane, that concludes my superintendent's report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent McIntyre. Any questions from the board? All right. Our next agenda item is communication and public relations. Item 7A, canvassing election results resolution. We'll welcome Jim Skelly, the Executive Director of Communication and Public Relations, and Thomas Hunt, the Anoka County Elections Manager. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Co-Chair DeShane, Superintendent McIntyre, members of the board. I am Jim Skelly, Executive Director of Communications and Public Relations. This also includes government relations and elections. The star of our show tonight here, though, is our Anoka County Elections Manager, Tom Hunt, who does a great job on behalf of all of us to make sure these elections are run accurately. We're here tonight to submit results from the school board election in Districts 3, 4, and 6, which took place on Tuesday, November 4th. The school board actually serves as the canvassing board for the election results, and this is an action item for the school board to approve or canvass the results. And in your packet, you'll find the abstract along with a resolution for your approval that will certify the election last Tuesday. With approval, that'll open the 7-day window for a possible recount. If that does happen, an updated resolution would be presented at a future meeting. So this is a procedural step, and Tom Hunt will share a short summary of the election, answer any questions you may have.
Madam Co-Chair, members of the board, my name is Tom Hunt, the Elections Director for Anoka County. Thank you for having me. I just want to say, first off, thank you, or congratulations to all the board members that won re-election last Tuesday. Second, I just want to say thank you to the district itself for being such a good partner in administering the election, whether it's Jim or the members of the facility staff or the members of the print shop. They all do a really fantastic job. Outside of that, as far as the election goes, really the biggest story was turnout. I remember being here in '23, and I felt pretty good about the turnout because we hit 15.5%. If you'll see in your packet there, on Tuesday we reached 25.5% turnout, which is pretty amazing. So yeah, really fantastic turnout. As Jim mentioned, you have the resolution before you to certify the results, but as always, I am more than happy to answer any questions that you might have to feel comfortable in certifying the results.
Members, do we have any questions? Okay. It does not appear that we have any questions. If not, members, before us is a resolution to accept the canvassing election results as presented in Appendix E. Hearing no request for discussion, would the clerk call the roll, please?
Simon votes aye. Hoekman.
Aye.
Audette.
Aye.
Langenfeld.
Aye.
Arco.
Aye.
DeShane.
Aye. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, that resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, board members, our next agenda item is elementary and secondary education. Item 8A, proposed new courses for the 2026-2027 registration guide. We welcome Sarah Hunter, the Executive Director of Learning and Achievement. Thank you for being here.
And board members, as Sarah's moving in here, I'll just jump in. We don't really have a presentation for you tonight. You've been updated with briefings last week for the courses that we're proposing. And really, this is just Sarah here to answer any questions you may have. I know some of you had some questions as we were preparing for this. So really, it's your chance to get any clarity you need on the courses that we're offering here tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent McIntyre. With that, members, we'll open it up for questions to Sarah on the courses included in our packet in Appendix F through, let's see, F through H. Director Langenfeld.
Thank you, and thank you, Sarah, for joining us tonight. First of all, I appreciate having this discussion publicly, so I think it's very important that our community hear a discussion. I am a huge proponent of CTE pathways. I'm hoping we can go one by one.
Sure.
As opposed to just mushing them all together. I think that would be helpful. And I appreciate, as I read the course focused on CNC machining, could you just confirm for me and for the public that this particular course, the manufacturing coupled with welding, is something that only Andover does not have as compared to what the other high schools have in terms of opportunity for starting in that space to have a pathway to STEP?
Thank you for the question, Director Langenfeld. That's correct. Andover, at this point, doesn't have an intro course that gives them a pathway to the higher level courses at our STEP program. So this would allow them essentially a parallel pathway to what all 4 of our other high schools have already with welding.
Okay. Just as a follow-up then, would we then anticipate that the course itself would be somewhat similar to what's actually being offered in the other high schools as well, so that?
Somewhat similar in terms of an introductory course. The machining, they don't have the equipment at Andover to offer the other courses that our other 4 high schools do. So this would again sort of put them on par with their peers in the other high schools.
So they would have then the same kind of access in their high schools, and then they could go on
They
to
could
the
continue
STEP
on.
program and
Correct.
get industry certifications and move potentially, if they chose, into the workforce upon graduation as
That is
well in
correct.
this area.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Members, any other questions on the CNC machining course being added to the registration guide at Andover High School? All right, the next course, Appendix G, is for an artificial intelligence course added at STEP. Any questions from the board on that artificial intelligence course? Director Hoekman.
Yeah, thank you. So I read the information that we were given about this AI course, and I guess I'm still trying to understand what would be the scope, the understanding, who would be delivering the content. I'm very interested to learn more about that.
Sure, it's a great question. Thank you for the question, Director Hoekman. So the idea behind this course is that it would allow students access to information that would introduce them to potential careers that either involve AI or are in AI as a career pathway. Similar to other CTE courses, it would sort of be the first in a line of allowing for our students to access information about a pathway that they might want to go into. It is an increased, the field is getting larger, right? So we want to make sure that our students have access to this if it is an interest of theirs. And there is a teacher already at STEP who is prepared to prepare and then teach the course.
So I guess, yes, thank you. That was my
Yep.
follow-up.
Yep.
Just it's such a new field. I have a hard time understanding, putting my head around what that would look like. I mean, we can imagine some of the fun things that we've all seen AI able to do, but expanding and making certain that the course develops skills that can be put forward. So, I mean, I'm just thinking, do we have courses elsewhere that we can model this after? Are there places like the tech school has them, or
Yeah, this
expand
is
on that?
There is an increasing number of districts that are offering courses like this, so we would model our course after what other systems are doing. There's also the potential for support from there's federal funding that could come with supporting the teaching of this course as well.
So again, just follow up. So again, trying to understand, we can see, CNC machining, that's a
Yep.
course that would be at the tech school, that
Yep.
we would be delivering kids into that pathway. Is there, I guess I'm trying to understand if tech schools or colleges, or do they even have this program? I'm trying to make certain that we
Yeah.
fit in. I know one concern, just as the entire system that we have here of so many students that we're trying to serve well, to make certain that we have courses that are going to be productive for students and carry them forward. I know one thing that goes with that is further discussion could be had about courses that we have in our registration guide that are kind of timed out and are not providing those useful
Yeah.
pathways anymore. And so that's a separate discussion for a separate time, but I just want to make certain that this course is in fact going to give our students the grounding, the footing that they need to move forward.
Sure. We believe so, yes, that it would, many jobs in the tech industry across sort of a wide array of types of positions involve needing to understand how to use, at least at a basic level, how to use AI inside of their workforce. So the hope would be this wouldn't necessarily only be for students who want to go into a career specifically in AI, but that might need to be able to use it responsibly as a part of their life or career. And then that we also are each year, to your other point, we review the course catalog for courses that need to be removed. So there are 4 courses that in this annual review did get removed from the course catalog due to lack of student interest and or misalignment with our current programming. So some of that, I appreciate your question, right, about as we don't want to just balloon up our course catalog, so I really appreciate you bringing it up, that a part of the annual process is removing courses that are no longer aligned with what makes sense for students today.
Thank you.
Co-Chair Arco.
I have maybe a more general question
Sure.
for the superintendent. So I remember we used to have kayak, and then that was done away with because we wanted to bring these discussions to like work sessions. And now it seems like there is still a curriculum advisory committee, but then are any board members currently on that committee, or?
That's not with board members, that's the internal staff from
Okay.
each of the buildings that come together. And
Yep.
maybe if you want to describe that a little bit more, Sarah?
Yeah, that's the advisory committee that has folks from each of our high schools so that we're making sure that the pathways are represented, members of my team from a content perspective, and then several other folks like our IT staff to make sure that our courses are being set up correctly in the system. That committee meets monthly in order to bring information forward about, are there new courses being requested in a certain department? Are there concerns about prerequisites or not having enough interest in a course? And then what we would do is at this point, this is the part of the point in the year where we would bring to you any changes that need to be made at the system level. So all of the sort of smaller logistical pieces of that process get run through the Curriculum Advisory Committee.
One point I would add too, just from a process standpoint, is if it's put in the catalog, it's still driven by student interest. So if there's sufficient enrollment there, then that's built into the existing staffing allocation. There's no additions there.
Correct.
And then curriculum is written later once it's confirmed that it's, we wouldn't do that ahead of time.
Yep.
Just want to make sure there's actual enrollment to support the course, just like any other course.
Director Audette.
I guess I have a question on the AI technology itself. Has the district licensed an AI chatbot? or something similar for use here?
We do use the embedded Google tool. Yeah, so there's like introductory courses that teachers can take from our technology team.
So so this is an interesting, I guess it's I don't know what it is, a parallel to this, but I know with AI, with any of those chat tools, or Chat GPT or any of them, once they're on your system, they rapidly search your system, they learn all kinds of information. It just becomes part of what it knows as it learns. So it's just a question from a technology perspective. Have we covered all of those bases? Because really quickly, it gets on your system, it can access all kinds of information. And so then in particular, if students are going to use it, what protections do we have in place for data privacy and all of those kinds of things? Because it's a pretty important, kind of a big deal, I guess.
That's a great question, and I'm probably not the best
Yeah.
to respond to it, but I know that that's a part of why we choose carefully which tools are supported inside of our school system. So ChatGPT is not the tool that we are trained on in terms of internally, because you can create, I'm not going to use the right terminology, but essentially like barriers around your
Yeah.
student data using the tools that are purchased for your system.
Joe Borman's here from our tech
Perfect.
department, probably can
Yeah.
give you more specifics, so thanks, Jill.
Hi, good evening, Co-Chair DeShane, Co-Chair Zach Arco, Superintendent McIntyre, and members of the board. I was just listening to your comments about AI and how we're using AI in our environment and some of the protections around it. So in our environment, we have adopted Google, of course, Google for Education, Workspace for Education. So we've opted out of other OpenAI tools such as ChatGPT. With that, we have data protections in place with Gemini, such as we have a walled garden. So we have protection within our own Google domain for those practices, but we also have adopted AI guidelines. And so those guidelines are in place and have been shared with teachers district-wide, staff district-wide. And with that, we rely heavily on data practices and data security. So with that, we definitely stress to teachers, even within our walled garden domain, of not sharing private information, student information, confidential information. But we do have that extra protection with Google for Workspace and adopting only Gemini.
Okay. So I don't know what Gemini is, but I guess I gather from what you're saying, you feel confident that we're protected from the kinds of risks I'm talking about where people are using it, they enter data somehow, and now it becomes part of what everybody knows in the world.
Definitely, especially with AI being a generative learning
Yeah.
tool, right? As soon as you put something out there
Yep.
into open source, and it's constantly learning. And so that's our biggest stress with teachers, staff, is just making sure that you're using the AI guidelines and our Google for Workspace Education, only Gemini. So we recently had some, also some extra professional development that happened on October 20th for a bunch of, for high schools and secondary schools. And we had a very good professional development leader come in from outside to work with those 3 schools and all the teachers. And also, same thing, we customize that professional development for our specific environment using only Gemini.
Do we have many people that have access to these tools? Like, is it all employees, or is it just some, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is all staff have access. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us for this discussion. I appreciate it. Does anyone else have questions? Well, we have Director Borman, Director Langenfeld.
And information. In the report, you talk a little bit about cybersecurity pathways are recommended by the advisory board members using occupational outlook. Could you talk about the advisory board so that we have a clear understanding as well here at this table, but also in our public domain?
Yes, and that is Jess Lipa, who leads our CTE programming. That's the CTE Advisory Board. So making sure that the courses and then the sort of pathways that go along with a course are aligned with what we are seeing in terms of current workforce. So as we see interest and then positions, open positions grow in a particular area, this is one where they wanted to make sure that we are at the very least beginning to offer courses.
So just as a follow-up, so industry are at the table?
Correct.
And informing the next
Yes,
steps?
informing
and-
all of the sort of additional programming, particularly when we look at CTE, correct? Yep.
Okay, thank you.
For the question.
Co-Chair Arco.
Yes, thank you. I think the idea for a course on AI is somewhat fascinating. But I also kind of, in and amongst that, I view AI a lot like, kind of like the advent of cell phones, and that very quickly is becoming ubiquitous, and you sort of can't not use it if you simply go on the internet. And so I think there's value there, but we are also struggling to a certain extent to keep students from using AI to cheat on homework and whatever. So I would, for me to support this, I would want to know, kind of, I think Director Hoekman was speaking to it a little bit, like specifically what is the value add outside of what you can't help but learn simply by using the internet, if that makes sense? And so like kind of at this point, I think it's a good start, but I'm not entirely on board with the class as of yet. And I think that's kind of why I also asked about the kayak, because if more of the details were here, I think I could get behind it, but at least at the time, like, I mean, you can use it to generate text, you can use AI to generate images, you can do all, but like, that stuff it's almost self-explanatory, so I guess, I mean, I use AI for various things, I even use AI at work occasionally, but like, no one taught me how to use it, I just kind of figured it out by using it, so I'm just, for a future conversation, I guess I'd be curious what the value add for this class is above and beyond what is already easy to pick up simply by playing around with it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with this, but it's an interesting idea.
Director Langenfeld.
So I want to go back where I was thinking about this too, and thinking about this as a foundational course to introduce the field of AI as opposed to an actual course. I know that I'm going to refer to St. Cloud Public Schools has done a deep, deep dive into supporting their students in use of the tool. And this would not be that from my takeaway. I have a good friend whose child went through Dunwoody and is working in the industry now. And one of the things, as I was thinking through this and thinking that the course has not yet to be written, is because of the ever-changing dynamics. I would assume that industry people will be involved in terms of the course offering itself. But it's not necessarily how to do or use AI, but rather to understand the field itself, because it is so broad.
Yeah,
you
I think
know.
part of it would be, yes, what is possible in the use of AI. It also, our peers are doing, similar work to us in terms of, I sort of see this in two ways. So I think, Director Arco, one of your points that I want to come back to is we also are responsible for teaching our students responsible use, right? So that isn't just for the students who might choose this as a course at STEP, right? That would be in any classroom, making sure that students understand how and when the use of AI tools is appropriate. Given that, yes, you're right, they're everywhere, right? You pull up a Google search and you see what AI has summarized for you. I think the point of this course is more along the lines of Director Langenfeld's point, that we want to make sure that if our students have an interest in a career that includes using AI, not just in the way a layperson would, like myself, right? More in terms of using it for programming, being a part of the building out of an AI tool in order to support a particular concept in a field that they were interested in. That's more what this course was aiming at. And then, of course, as a system, it's our responsibility to teach students responsible use of any tool that they have.
Director Hochman.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, again, just trying to get my head around. I know I've also talked with a number of people in the field, and the exciting things that are happening. In fact, it seems like there's some great things happening. You're talking about the school district in St. Cloud, but I know of some businesses in the AI area near us. So it's really important and building out, but also I'm still trying to get my head around it, and it seems as though those careers right now seem to take a lot of background information. So definitely dipping our toes in is important. I guess limitations I'm thinking of are just those pieces of, well, if we're only using one tool, how robust and complete is the information that we're getting? What kind of things are students getting? It's, again, to think back to the idea of technology and embracing it. You know, how do we know that the tool that we're giving them is enough to introduce them to the system and not just limiting them? So I just feel with those questions, there's just a lot of unknowns, and the information, the summary that we have, I just don't have the confidence that it's yet fleshed out enough to give it its support. I really support the idea and know that it's a field that we want to be providing for our kids, but I'm not certain that I see it being complete at this time.
Co-Chair Arco.
So I'll just go back to kind of what I was saying earlier. If kayak was still there and this had gone through like the robust kayak process with board member input and was a little more fully developed, I would probably easily get on board with it. But I'm not opposed to it, but I think it's just a little premature is kind of where I'm at with it. So I would say I'd hope to see it develop further, and then I could, in the future, vote for it.
Yeah, I think just one thing that's important to note, I think, in that with the kayak committee coming up a few times, as co-chair, Zach, you and I decided early on, once we had a few sessions of kayak and board members that weren't a part of it wanted information, you and I decided together that those things would come to work sessions or board meetings for open discussion like this. So I think that's, that the superintendent and Sarah Hunter are kind of following our advice on that and bringing it here for us to have that discussion. I think it probably would be helpful for us to outline a few questions, like specific questions that we have or specific pieces of information that would flesh this out to the degree that would give comfort to board members. I'm not sure if there is anything specific you could add to your wonderings that would help us kind of land on what this could look like to further the conversation. Co-Chair Arco.
It's a good question. The specific thing that could get my buy-in is if just spell out the value add specifically, not necessarily right now, but value add outside of what is easy to obtain just by surfing the web, so to speak. I'm sure it's there. I'm sure there's stuff. And that's why I said, if anything, I feel like it's almost just a little underdeveloped, and that was it. So that would be what I'd be looking for. And then to address your other comments about kayak, you are correct. It was ended for a reason. So there's kind of a nuance I want to get to. I think the reason was because there's a number of controversial classes that we're discussing, and it was just useful to have all, like, full board input. For stuff like this, however, where I don't think it's terribly controversial, I do think there's value add in having kayak for stuff like this. So maybe I didn't explain that clearly, or maybe the conversation wasn't full enough at that point, but I feel like there certainly is a place for kayak. It was just really the social studies classes that we're kind of wrestling with at the time. That was the stuff where it made a lot of sense to bring it to the whole board. So, but not necessarily every class, I would say. So.
Superintendent McIntyre.
Maybe I can help the board there. You know, as we probably get through the holidays here, we'll come back. We need the board to reestablish what it is our curriculum adoption process that you all can support. So we've known that works in front of us. That's a bigger process issue than just this course. So I think you got a couple options. If it doesn't have support tonight, it doesn't go this isn't the year for the course to be offered. Unless there's some specific follow-up you would like in the next couple of days, we have a tight timeline for the catalog, so we can hit those requirements ahead of staffing process. But if there's, some of those unique things, we can follow up and see if that changes any minds. You wouldn't have to maybe, the problem is we don't have, December 8th meeting is too late to make it into the course catalog. So that's maybe the dilemma you have, and if there's just not support tonight, there's not support tonight.
Yeah, one thing I'll just point back out on this, and maybe, Sarah, you could help us make sure this is correct. The decision today is to put it in the course catalog. Students would still have to register for it. This is a class at STEP, so it's students that are already electing to take career CTE pathways. This would be one more for them in the tech space on that pathway. It comes with Carl Perkins funding, federal funding, so it's not a budgetary concern for the district. And I think to the point you made earlier, part of the process that we're following is timing bound. So this gets it into the course catalog for printing and for registration purposes. And then we can continue to have the follow-up discussions about what might be useful and helpful content for the class to contain, which sounds like that's more where your questions are at. It's not about budget concerns. It's not about the concept of teaching workforce, AI use in the workforce and potential career pathways with AI components. I think we're maybe blending still together a little bit of like personal use of AI versus how AI is used at a workforce, which it sounds like this is what that is more targeted toward. So I know, 2 members so far have kind of said, maybe not, but perhaps we still have 4 that are interested in moving it forward to the catalog, and then we can continue to learn more about it, knowing that we have funding for it, we have a teacher interested in it, and it still requires registration. And if we don't get registration, then it doesn't run.
And curriculum writing would only begin after board approval of a new course. So the specific details around, right, like what materials, what resources these students would have access to would be a part of the creation of the course. We didn't want to get ahead of the board in that part of this process.
Thank you. Superintendent McIntyre.
I really like the question that Director Arco asked, and I guess I would just weigh in on that in the moment here. You heard about high skill, high demand, high-wage jobs in our CTE presentation here recently, and from what we understand and what we're seeing already is integrating in AI literacy into pathways like healthcare, like manufacturing, business, technology, is important. We know employers are already seeking graduates who know and have exposure and have some literacy around how does AI work and how do we use that as problem solving. And as we have graduates leaving into the manufacturing or into those CTE areas right out of high school, giving them some exposure in learning in how this works, I think this enhances their ability to be employable. So, to me, that's some high-level thinking on just value addition to making them more of a viable candidate for the jobs that they're going to be pursuing through our CTE programs. We know it brings critical thinking and problem-solving skills to the table, too, and we want our students to really evaluate what AI does, how it works, how do we use that to solve problems in the industry. So, those kinds of concepts were missing in the briefing, that's kind of on us to, not have fleshed that out well enough for the board. But I think we see from the sectors that we work most with, the demand is already coming our way with how to prepare our students with that additional tool, with the skills that, they're going to leave us with.
Director Langenfeld.
As we've been talking about this, I think there's some very important opportunity here. Have we ever put in a course, obviously, we haven't approved a curriculum, so is it possible to put it in pending board approval? I really think that if there's more opportunity to flesh this out a little more and answer the questions of the board members, I don't know that there's, in concept, that I'm not feeling that it's the concept, but rather we don't have enough information to, I go back to understanding by design and being able to articulate what students know and can do when they walk out of that coursework and what advantage it would be. And if we had that information, would that be satisfactory? And then we'd have to discuss materials? Am I understanding that accurately?
Well, any action tonight would allow us to put it in the course catalog and see if students registered for it. If there's enough that register for it, then typically it means we're going to offer it. So if we end up voting, if the board ends up voting to not offer it later, then we got to find other courses for students to take and rearrange their schedules, right? So I don't know if, Sarah, you want to speak to that, but that would be the issue, I think, depending on the timing.
Yeah, from a timing perspective, schools begin their registration nights at our high schools and our middle schools in December. So December and January are sort of the months that our schools are making sure that students are informed about the choices that they have for the following year. So I would, it would be hard to pull that then away from students. Now, to be fair, there are courses each year that don't run, right, because there isn't enough interest. But those would sort of be the two different reasons that we would need to remove a course from a student. So ideally, anything that's in the course catalog is board approved so that we are able to move forward with our plans for registration. And then staffing comes immediately following registration, right? So once students have elected what they are interested in, our schools, as they receive their budgets, make decisions about how to make sure we can run the courses that the students chose.
Director Simon?
Thanks, Casey. I guess I'll comment first on that and then go to what I was going to say. I wouldn't be supportive of putting something in a catalog that might not get a vote. I think that's just confusing and creates, so I would, if it's not going to get enough votes, I would say don't do that. At least that's my view. I think I agree with the process points that was made. I agree with a lot of everything that was said, but the process specifically about kayak typically would have been the touch point early on where 3 board members who serve on kayak would say, give a head nod and say, proceed developing that, and then it would have been brought back to the full board. And my guess is that with budget cuts and leadership change, restructuring and everything like this, this is coming to us at a very late moment where it should have been and would have been earlier, I would have guessed. So I get that, and it's logical why that happened, but I agree with the process point that we shouldn't have that in the future, right? So we have to figure out that. Specifically to this course, I have never known Jess and her team to bring something forward that wasn't fleshed out from industry and a need with her students. So at least in this moment, I am fine going forward with that, with the note of course, when curriculum does get developed, this board has agreed upon a process that comes back to us, right? So,
Sure.
But yeah, I'm fine because of those things. Yeah.
Thank you. Director Hoekman?
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. The programming, the work that the staff does in developing things, they work hard, and I know that there's quality things. Again, that procedure piece is that either there has to be a committee of people who have already said, oh, we asked these questions, they've been cleared, and so then the remaining board members have some confidence in that. Certainly, all board members should have input, but if there's some mechanism to procedurally look at these things earlier so that we don't have to have lengthy discussions here and uncertainty. And then that final piece is, yes, who knows for what reason, but to just not have any discussion at all, to have, since the committee is not there, and now it's agreed upon that we'll have a discussion as a board, but we're having a discussion at the board at such a late date that we can't get all the issues resolved, seems to be not prudent. We need to find a better path to ensure that we can get these courses in place so our kids can benefit.
Director Audette?
With the information that's being requested, I think we should wait until we can get all our questions answered. So.
Okay. All right, so let's move to the next and final course option, which is Appendix H. And this is a new world language course for Ojibwe. Board members, any questions on this proposed world language course offering? Co-Chair Arco.
Yeah, so just for my understanding, it seems like based on the briefing, this is required per statute to offer,
Correct.
Ojibwe.
Native language programming, yeah.
okay, and it's like a language and culture class? So I guess my question, so then it seems like we'll do it, but do we know if there's any demand for this course before we offer it? Has there been any, like, interest stated in this, or?
Yes, so I would say in our American Indian programming, there is interest across several of our high schools. And I think one of the things that we have thought about in this course is in order to make sure that the course is able to run, we would propose that the course runs at STEP so that students across our system are able to access it. In the event that there isn't enough interest at one high school, we would want students from multiple high schools to be able to be a part of this course together. It would be the first year, right? For any of these courses, it would be the first year of the course. So a part of our work moving into the registration period now would be to make sure that students are aware that this would be a new language course available to them next fall. But yes, we have interest both in our Native community and just from students who would be interested in another language course.
Did you want to respond to that before we go to a different
Two
question?
quick
or-
things to add. Our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee also strongly recommended this as part of our concurrence recommendation last year. And then also, we were just recently at our Tribal Nations Education Council process, TNIC process, that we have required to go through with the state. And it's another strong recommendation for TNIC to sign off on our plan, knowing that this is a statutory requirement. So there's two additional pieces there that I want to add.
Director Audette?
Could you talk about the logistics of having it at STEP? So like it's just one course period, right? So how will we get people back and forth? And just how do you see that working?
I would say, so in an ideal world, this course would be offered at all of our high schools, right? So I think it will depend on student interest, whether it needs to be at STEP. That would be in the event we needed to pull students across multiple schools, we could offer it. In the course catalog, it would be available at each high school, right? And then once we gauge student interest, we'd make a decision about when and how the course would run. What many other systems are doing right now. So I will say we are one of a number of districts who would be posting and are creating courses based on the state statute. So we have the opportunity to partner with other systems that are also building out a course. So there's a lot of sort of precedent for the creation of Ojibwe in Minnesota right now. And so I think ideally, Director Audette, we'd be able to offer an hour of Ojibwe 1 at each of our high schools based on interest. I think as a backup plan, to your point, we would then work with Jess at STEP to make sure that we were able to sort of collaborate across schools if there wasn't quite enough interest at each high school. Say there were 3 students at one school and 17 at another, right? We wouldn't want to leave those 3 students out.
Yes, do you have to do, like, at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, or how, like, have we done that before where we've had students just go and take, like, one class at STEP? I'm just thinking about that's a haul for some.
I don't believe we do that.
Okay.
I can
I
give you
just
more
can't imagine
details on
how-
how logistically we
Yeah.
can make it work, but
Yeah.
that's not efficient, kind of to your point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they really step one is starting with
At our high
students who are really committing to the STEP program,
Yeah.
trying to gauge interest in the system and how big that is, to
Yep.
Sarah's point.
Okay.
In an ideal world, as we get registrations in, this course runs at as many of our high schools as possible, and then we would staff accordingly.
Could you take kids from one high school to another? Would that be another option, right? Or would it not?
We
Not really?
could,
Great
but
question.
transportation costs,
Logistically
things like that are
Yeah, I'm just
become
saying, like,
barriers.
if it worked out, you had a kid at Andover and Blaine, kids at Andover and Blaine who wanted to do it, rather than go everybody to STEP.
Other options I have seen and have direct experience with is offering courses virtually.
Yep.
So that you can just take them, you don't have to leave your school, it can be offered somewhere else. You can get a group of students that can take a course virtually. Takes a different kind of planning and
Yeah.
resource allocation to do that, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know districts do it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, board members, any further questions on this final course? Okay, with that, and given the discussion that we had about the AI course, I think what we're proposing here, currently, we are asking for approval of the proposed new courses for the 2026-2027 registration guide, not as presented, but as follows: the CNC machining course and the Ojibwe language course to be added to the registration guide. So I would entertain a motion to approve those two new proposed courses for registration.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Langenfeld. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Director Simon. Any further discussion by board members? Okay, would all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed say no? With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, that motion is approved. Thank you for being here. Our next agenda item is Labor Relations, item 9A, authorize the 2025-2027 Building Service Master Agreement. We welcome Dr. Cherry, Chief Human Resources Officer. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Co-Chair DeShane, members of the board, Superintendent McIntyre. I actually have two items this evening that are both related to authorization of a contract agreement. As you had mentioned, the first one is for our school service employees. This is a master agreement for the 2025 through 2027 contract years. This is listed in Appendix I of your packet, and I am pleased to announce that our school service employees, who are represented by SEIU Local 284, have ratified a new 2-year agreement. Thank you to the members of the employee and the district bargaining teams for their work in negotiating an updated employment contract. The tentative agreement reached includes step movement both years of the contract. In year 1, salary schedule improvements include 45-cent an hour increase to the top step of the salary schedule and a 5-cent per hour increase for second and third shift for our custodial, warehouse, and grounds employees, and a $1 an hour increase for our maintenance employees. In the second year of the contract, the salary schedule improvements include a 30-cent per hour increase to the first step and a 40-cent per hour increase to the second step, and a 40-cent per hour increase to the top step for our custodial, warehouse, and grounds employees. And again, for our maintenance employees, a $1 per hour increase. Also in year 2, improvements include an advance, for our advanced boiler license holders, stipend increase of 25 cents per hour for first class license and 50 cents per hour for a chief license. In addition to the schedule improvements, we also have an increase to our district contributions towards benefits each year of the contract. In year 1 of the contract, the monthly district contributions are now $905 for singles and $1,670 for employees with family coverage. And in year 2 of the contract, the monthly contributions would be $945 for single coverage and $1,845 for employees who hold family coverage. The total compensation package includes a 6.06% increase, or just over $867,000 in new money. And this contract equals $29.469 million over the course of the 2 years of the contract. This proposed agreement is within the authority provided by the school board, and as a result, I'm seeking approval of the contract as presented.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Board members, any questions for Dr. Cherry on this contract? All right, hearing none. Members, before us is an approval of the 2025-2027 school, Building Service Master Agreement as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve the 2025 to 27 Building Service Master Agreement. Thank you, Director Simon. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Audette. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, that motion is approved. The next agenda item is 9B, authorizing the 2025-27 School Technical Specialist Master Agreement. Again, Dr. Cherry.
Excellent. The master agreement as proposed is included in Appendix J of your packet. And I'm pleased to announce that our school technical specialists, who are represented by the Minnesota School Employees Association, have ratified a new 2-year agreement with the effective dates July 1, 2025 through June 30th of 2027. Again, thank you to the members of the employee and the district bargaining teams for their hard work in negotiating an updated employment contract. Here, the tentative agreement reached includes an increase in the salary schedule of 25 cents per hour each year of the contract. That's an across-the-board increase for all cells on the schedule. Step movement both years of the contract, and an increase to district contributions towards benefits each year of the contract. Year 1 monthly district contributions are now $905 for single coverage and $1670 for those employees with family coverage. And in year 2 of the contract, the monthly contributions would increase to $945 for single coverage and $1845 for employees with family coverage. This total compensation package includes a 5.5% increase or $46,000 in new money. This contract equals $1.6 million over the course of the 2 years of the contract. This proposed agreement is within the authority provided by the school board, and as a result, I'm seeking approval of the contract as presented.
Thank you. Board members, any questions on this contract? If not, before us is an approval of the 2025-2027 School Technical Specialist Master Agreement as presented. I would entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Director Simon. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Co-Chair Arco. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. 6 in favor and 0 opposed. That motion is approved. Our next agenda is 9C, our labor relations update, and we will stay with Dr. Cherry.
All right, thank you. This labor relations update is getting shorter and shorter month by month. And at this time, this again is a monthly update. This is in alignment with Policy 209, which is our negotiations code of ethics, which indicates that administration will review the status of negotiations at public school board meetings. Consistent with open meeting law and PELRA, our detailed negotiation discussions are addressed in closed session of the board, and this is an opportunity for the board as well as the public to understand the status of where we're at within our contract negotiations. Looking at our bargaining goals, our collective bargaining process focuses on finding mutual gains and solving shared problems. We seek to have a legally sound and operationally manageable agreement with clear and concise language. We focus our efforts, recruitment and retention of high-quality staff, and always we ensure that we're fiscally responsible stewards of taxpayer money operating within a fixed budget. Some budget facts to understand as we look at our FY26 general fund salaries and benefits. This is where the majority of our salaries are paid out of our general fund. This equals $539 million for FY26. Noting that 1% increase to salaries and benefits is equal to $5.39 million. However, a 1% increase on the basic general ed formula is equal to only $3 million. This is important to understand as we look at any increases in the general ed formula does not produce enough revenue to compensate our employees at a 1% salary increase as well. Salaries and benefits are approximately 82% of the general fund budget. And within our FY26 budget, we are including a 2.5% increase in salaries and a 5% increase in benefits. Looking at the employee groups within Anoka-Hennepin, we have 5 unaffiliated groups. These are non-bargaining units and 13 collective bargaining groups. Within our group of 2025 through 2027 master agreements, we now have 3 groups that have active contracts that have been settled. Within our 2024 through 2026 master agreements, these are our employee groups that are in the second year currently of their contract. And then we also have a few groups that are still remaining with continuing to operate under 2023 through 2025 master agreements. And these are the groups that we continue to be in active negotiations with. And these are the groups that I will talk about one by one next. Looking at our open groups or open contracts, I'll provide a status on our negotiation meetings. The first group is our largest group of employees, our teachers. This includes our K-12 teachers as well as our ABE teachers, ECFE teachers, and now our preschool teachers are also joining this group. They are represented by Anoka-Hennepin Education Minnesota, Local 7007. Within this group, we have over 3,200 employees, and we are in mediation at this time with this group. Our last mediation meeting took place on November 6th. While we're in mediation, all proposals that are exchanged with this group are still confidential, and we continue to actively work to come to an agreement with them. The next group is our principals. This is a group that is represented by the Anoka-Hennepin Elementary and Secondary Principals Association. There are 126 employees in this group. Our fourth meeting was scheduled for November 14th, and that is Friday. And actually, that was just rescheduled, and I don't know if November 14th is Friday or if that's the rescheduled date. It's November 14th, Friday. It is. So that is the next date that we have scheduled with our principals. The next group is our child nutrition assistants. This group is represented by our Minnesota School Employees Association. Just over 200 employees in this group, hourly employees, both full-time, long-hour and short-hour employees. Our third meeting is scheduled for November 18th. And our school office supervisors are represented by Anoka-Hennepin Office Professional Supervisors Association, just over 40 employees in this group. There is one school office supervisor essentially for each one of our schools, our buildings. Our first meeting is scheduled for November 12th. We're looking forward to meeting with them this week. And then we have two additional groups that are yet to be scheduled, our community school programmers and early childhood screeners. This is a small group of employees that generally waits to meet until after our teachers have settled, because they are also represented by Anoka-Hennepin Education Minnesota. And our special education administrators, due to the sequencing and planning of meetings, oftentimes we wait to meet with this group until we're further along with principal negotiations. There are 15 employees in that group currently. So looking at our next steps, we'll continue to provide regular updates at school board meetings. We continue to meet actively with each of these groups with open contracts. A note about being in mediation, those contract proposals, negotiation proposals that go back and forth are still confidential in nature, but we will provide as much detailed information as we can to the board on an ongoing basis. In addition to that, we do provide a brief overview on our negotiations page on our Anoka-Hennepin Schools website, and you can see that link listed here on the slide. And with that, I'm open to any comments or questions from the board.
Thank you, Dr. Cherry, for the presentation and information. Members, any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, board, we're nearing our last agenda item, item 10, board correspondence and communications. Members, this is our opportunity to share happenings in our community, report on assignments or any other items of interest. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share? Director Simon.
Thanks, Casey. For the board, but also for the public, I was able to go to the opening night of Coon Rapids Middle School Wizard of Oz play, and I just have to say, well, first of all, it was amazing. The students were awesome. The stage crew was great. The teacher who directs it was wonderful. But just for the public and for the board, I know a lot of board members attend things like that, but for the public, check out the things that are happening at our schools, middle schools and high schools, from music, band, choir. A lot of stuff happens in November and December, and I promise you will not be sorry. So you can go to your school's website on the activities calendar. You can go to, a lot of times, bands and choirs and drama clubs will have Facebook pages that also advertise those. So check them out. You will absolutely love it. Thanks.
I'll go next quickly here. I just want to say with Veterans Day being tomorrow that I just want to personally thank all of our staff who serve or have served, anybody with a spouse that serves, and then just my own personal family, Jack, Dave, my brother Dan, and my friend Steve. Thank you for your service. Director Langenfeld.
I also would like to offer recognition for our veterans as well. I think everyone here would. And support your comment, Director Simon. Frog and Toad is the show that I just recently saw over at Champlain Park High School as well. And there's a lot of great stuff for kids these days that you can take your children to. So I'd highly recommend, again, following the guidance that you just provided. I want to talk a little bit just briefly about literacy. I sit on the Higher Ed Literacy Partnership, was invited because I teach at Bethel, but really thinking about the work underway there that I think will really help all of us. They're really working on improving teacher prep programs. And if we can get better teacher prep programs aligned to the READ Act and so forth, we will be able to have some significant cost savings. And already the student teachers are coming into, we have a group from Bethel coming into our schools to help out and provide additional support. But there are also school districts across the state where this is happening. There's a pilot going on in Moorhead and another pilot going on in Mankato. So a lot of groups already, the higher ed partnerships with the K-12s, and I'm sure, and I see the superintendent nodding his head, I'm sure he's aware of many more than I am, but really looking at what a cost savings that will be. And now I want to share just a brief proof of concept. I volunteer at Monroe Elementary, and I did hearing and vision screening at Monroe last week, and I had first graders. And one of the things that we know is that once children connect the letter or the symbol to the sound is when they can start to read. It's that phonemic awareness that we want them to have. I had several first graders come in and I asked them to read the line, and they're holding it up in the room. I didn't realize this was going to happen, and this little guy said, zzz, zzz. And I said, oh, and what letter is that? Z. And he went through the whole thing. He was not the only child that did that. So they began with the sounds as opposed to the symbol, which I thought really started to tell a story I've not seen before when doing vision screening in the past. So it was very heartwarming. I thought that was a really great example. So that's what I have to share. I've got many other things, but those are the big highlights.
Thank you, members. Anything else? All right, with that, our next item 11 will be conducted in closed session. An executive session will be closed to discuss labor negotiations pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.03, discussing matters with all open groups. The closed session will be held in the Michael Sullivan Room. I would entertain a motion to move into closed session. Thank you, Director Simon. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Audette. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. With 6 in favor and 0 opposed, we will move to the executive session in the Michael Sullivan Room after a 5-minute break. Thank you.